there reigned a wise and mighty king named Darian. His kingdom, known for its wealth and power, was admired by all the neighboring lands. King Darian had inherited a prosperous realm from his father, King Alaric, who had been known as a fair and just ruler, loved by the people. However, King Darian's approach to ruling was different. Though he was well-educated, strong, and a brilliant strategist, he had one flaw. He believed that power and control were the foundation of a strong kingdom. In his heart, kindness was a weakness. King Darian's days were filled with meetings, military planning, and expansion strategies. He believed in the age-old principles of strength and authority, convinced that a ruler must maintain strict control over his subjects to keep peace. The people respected him, but their respect came from fear rather than love. They were afraid of his wrath, his unwavering desire for power, and his reluctance to listen to their needs. He never had time for the common folk, whom he saw as mere subjects to his grand vision. One afternoon, while King Darian was inspecting the latest project in the city, he crossed paths with a young woman sitting on the edge of a fountain. She was dressed in simple clothes, her face serene, as she looked up at him with gentle eyes. Her presence was calm, almost peaceful, and for a fleeting moment, the king felt something he could not understand, a sense of curiosity. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice firm yet slightly softer than usual. The young woman smiled, her eyes twinkling. "I am a traveler, my lord. I come from a distant village where people live in harmony and kindness flows through their hearts." King Darian, intrigued but skeptical, raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean, kindness flows through their hearts? This kingdom thrives because of discipline and strength, not kindness." The woman nodded gently. "Kindness, my lord, is not a weakness. It is a strength that can unite even the most divided hearts. Have you ever wondered what would happen if kindness were the foundation of your rule?" King Darian paused. He had never considered such a question. "Kindness is a fleeting thing," he said, "and it does not build empires. Power does." The woman smiled knowingly and stood up. "I would like to show you something, Your Majesty. Come with me." Curiosity piqued. King Darian followed her through winding streets and alleys he had never ventured down. They came to a humble part of the city where the houses were small and the people were poor but seemed content. The air here was different, lighter, filled with laughter and joy. Children played in the streets, and neighbors exchanged greetings with warmth and sincerity. It was a stark contrast to the cold, imposing palace and the rigid, emotionless atmosphere of the court. They arrived at a small, simple house where an elderly woman greeted them with open arms. Her face was lined with age, but her eyes were kind, and her smile was full of warmth. "Ah, welcome," the elderly woman said to the young traveler. "I've been waiting for you." "Who is this, my lord?" asked the elderly woman, noticing King Darian standing behind the traveler. "This is the king," the young woman replied. "The ruler of this kingdom." The elderly woman looked up at him with soft eyes. "A king, you say? Come, let me show you something." Inside the house, the king was surprised to see a modest but cozy home. A fire crackled in the hearth, and the smell of freshly baked bread filled the air. On the table were small pieces of fruit and vegetables, each one carefully tended to and shared. Despite the simplicity, the house seemed full of warmth and love. "Come, sit," the elderly woman urged, motioning to a seat by the fire. "I have nothing much to offer, but kindness is free, and I'll share it with you." King Darian, though initially reluctant, sat down. The elderly woman handed him a cup of herbal tea, and as he sipped, he noticed how different the atmosphere felt. There was no fear, no sense of hierarchy, only people taking care of each other with a quiet, unspoken understanding. "I've lived here for many years," the woman said as she sat across from him. "I do not have riches, but I have a kind heart, And I've learned that kindness is the key to everything. When a neighbor is in need, we help. When someone is sad, we listen. It costs nothing, yet it brings everything." King Darian was taken aback. He had ruled with a strong hand, believing that control and authority were the keys to keeping peace. Yet here, in this simple house, he saw a different kind of peace, one not built on force, but on kindness. "Do you mean to say that kindness, not wealth or power, holds a kingdom together?" he asked, his voice filled with disbelief. The elderly woman smiled. "Exactly. Kindness creates bonds between people. It builds trust, understanding, and love. And when people feel that they are cared for, they are more willing to work together for the good of all. This is what makes a kingdom thrive." King Darian sat silently, his mind racing. He had never known such a truth. Could it be that kindness could truly change a kingdom? Could it be that all his strategies, his conquests, and his insistence on control had been misguided? Before he could ask another question, the young woman turned to him and said, "Would you like to see something else?" With growing curiosity, King Darian agreed, and they left the elderly woman's house. They wandered through the village, where people greeted each other with warmth and sincerity. He watched a man offer a piece of bread to a stranger, a mother comfort a child, and a group of workers help one another carry heavy loads. It was a place where kindness flowed freely, as the elderly woman had said. As they walked, King Darian couldn't help but notice the difference in the air. Here, people didn't just exist, they lived. They cared for one another, and the bond between them was palpable. There was no fear in their eyes, no distance between them and their king. They were united, not by power, but by a shared understanding of what it meant to be human, to help one another, to show compassion, and to give without expecting anything in return. Finally, they arrived at a clearing in the forest where a small community had gathered. The people were building a well, not for themselves, but for the neighboring village that had suffered from a drought. King Darian stood there, awestruck. "They're helping those who have nothing," he whispered. "Why?" The young woman turned to him with a smile. "Because kindness is not about what you have, but what you give. It's about sharing what you can, when you can, and expecting nothing in return." King Darian's heart began to shift. For the first time in his life, he understood. Kindness was not a weakness. It was the glue that held society together. It was the foundation upon which true strength was built. Not power, but compassion.